Hey guys, so as you can tell by the title of this video, today I wanted to talk about my first death as a CNA. Now obviously, being a CNA for 2.5 years now, I have experienced death. I've lost residents that I've been close with and all of that stuff. However, this experience that I'm going to tell you about is the first time ever that I've actually had a patient slash resident that I have been assigned to care for that has died during my shift while they were under my care. As I'm sure many of you would understand, losing a patient or resident is very emotional. It can be traumatic. It can be very upsetting. There's certain people that have an issue providing postmortem care afterwards, especially if they were really close with the resident. I had known this man for 2.5 months, somewhere around there. So I didn't really have like a super close connection with him. And honestly, he was like one of the most combative patients that I've ever dealt with. And when I first started working at this facility, not the facility I work at currently, this man was pretty coherent for the most part. He was not on hospice when I first started working there. And within a very short time, you could tell that he was just rapidly declining. Like he was starting to not make sense. He just kind of stopped eating. His children would try to come in and have him, try to eat. His daughter would come in a lot and she would try to feed him and he would just refuse. Most of the time he refused to take his medications, and you can just tell when somebody starts declining, they start not wanting to eat. They don't really connect with the world around them anymore. He was just very out of it and very confused. And like I said, he would get combative like in an instant. He could be cheerful and happy and smiling one second and like talking to you and making jokes, but then the next second he would be grabbing you and like trying to squeeze your hand or your arm or whatever he could get a hold of. And, he would just be hurting you and yelling at you and screaming. So the night that he died, there was actually like, he wasn't as bad as like some hospice patients where you can tell that they're about to go. Like I've had other residents who were on hospice who like, they didn't die during my shift, but I was surprised that they didn't die because, they were taking the really shallow breaths and there was quite a long period of time between breaths. You can tell when somebody's going on their way out. And, this man, he didn't really have any of those signs. So basically what happened was this night, I was just doing my normal rounds just like I do every other shift. And I had checked on everybody for the last time before my lunch break. Now, when I went on my lunch break, he was breathing. He was asleep. He was breathing. He was fine when I went on my lunch break. When I came back, I checked on him. He was breathing. He was fine. When the other CNA who I was working with went on her lunch break, like maybe 15, 20 minutes after I came back from mine, he was breathing. He was asleep. He was fine. And she actually told me that she could see him actually moving in the bed when she had gone on her lunch break. So about 4 o'clock, maybe 10 minutes before 4 o'clock, when I started doing my final rounds or getting ready to do my final rounds, like I was getting all the linens ready for each room that I knew I would need to change linens and just things like that. I was getting everything together. And the nurse walked past his room and she was like, "I think he's dead." And sure enough, like I went in there after she said that as soon as I finished putting the linen in the rooms. Like I had one more room left when she said that, and I put the linen in the room and came right back to his room, and he was cold. Like he was so cold. And if you've ever provided postmortem care, is it weird to you? Like, do you have a conversation with them while you're like cleaning them up and getting them ready and stuff? Like, I just felt really awkward. Like I was trying to have a conversation to make it a little less awkward. Like I was talking to him just like I did any other time that I provided care for him. And I don't know if other people do that, but I just felt like it kind of made me a little bit more comfortable dealing with the situation, like talking to him as if he was still there. But literally, to give you kind of the time frame, I usually start my final rounds around 4 a.m. When I'm getting off at 6 a.m. And the last time that I checked on him was about 3 o'clock in the morning. And when my coworker, the other CNA that was on shift with me that night, when she took her lunch break, she checked on him when she came back around 3:30, 3:45. So it literally happened within like a half an hour to 20 minutes. And it's just crazy that you can go from, seeing this person sleeping peacefully, and just breathing normally, not really giving you any idea of the fact that they're about to go. I mean, other than the fact that they haven't been eating and all that stuff. Like, he wasn't breathing shallow or anything like that. He was literally fine. And within 15, 20 minutes, he's just gone. And he was cold. Like, I don't know. It was my first experience, and I was a little shaken up. Like, I kept beating myself up over it. Like, did I not check on him often enough? Was there something that I could have done better? Was there something that I could have changed about the care that I was giving him that, was the care that he was receiving from me not good enough? What did I do wrong? All these thoughts came through my head, and, he was on hospice. He was on his way out. He wasn't eating. And, it's not like anybody said that I did anything wrong or that it was my fault. It just, it's one of the things that automatically comes into my mind. I don't know if it comes into anybody else's mind, who's working with a patient who ends up dying during their shift while they're under your care. It just, I automatically go to the place where, well, could I have done anything differently? And, maybe this person would still be alive. But he's in a better place, and he was on hospice. Like I said, he was actively, well, I can't even say that he was actively dying, because most of the people that I've had under my care who are actively dying, like I said, are taking the shallow breaths, and they're, you can tell, like, their skin starts to look different, and things just change, and he didn't have those signs. So I don't know. Let me know if you've ever dealt with the death of a patient or resident while on your shift. How did you handle it? Do you find postmortem care difficult or, awkward? Do you try to talk to the person as if they're still there? How do you handle it? Let me know in the comments below. If there's any other topics you'd like me to address in a future video, please leave them in the comments below as well. Any questions, comments, suggestions, all of that, comments. And I will talk to you guys in a couple days with my next video.